One of you.
This is that thing we approved last meeting.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
sign. Here's a pen that matches the others.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Think those.
You guys don't want me to have my own?
I don't know.
At least we don't have.
You don't have your presidential pin?
You see, he chucked him into the crowd randomly. I thought that was pretty cool.
You're doing that left-handed, you know.
I know. That means I'm smart.
Insurance rates are higher. Life insurance rates are higher.
Is it really? I heard that.
Yeah.
Use that pen.
Oh, all right.
Oh, maybe can blow it up.
Bigger crowd.
I wouldn't come out tonight if I didn't have to.
Use that
I
pen.
know. I just got home. I
know.
ate dinner, and I was like, I'm ready for bed.
I had just got home and I still had to brush my windshield off. And I was like, come on.
I know.
It was covered with snow already.
Wait, did you sign the bottom one?
I did real quick. I made it up. I'm like, what am I gonna make?
Another thing?
I had like this frozen pastry stuff.
Look at you.
Oh, I thought that was
Sorry,
real
that's-
quick homemade pasta stuff, like
Lake
a
Edgewood doesn't
sauce,
cost half as much as you guys do.
mozzarella on it, spring onion.
That worked.
Energy.
In a pinch, Tuesday's cheap wing night at Buffalo Wild Wings.
God, you can get service. I'd still be sitting there.
Right?
Who's
You guys already answered this, right? You guys, we're buying the cleaners. I think it doesn't have an A.
Yeah.
B to the left or something.
Okay, everybody
you see this thing?
good
The
to
big
go?
thing that looks like a camera.
All set, thank you.
All set? Okay, yeah, for sure. Okay, and with that, thank you everybody for coming out on this very cold evening. We appreciate you coming. And so I will call the meeting to order at 6:30 on Tuesday, January 21st. So first things first, the invocation. Okay. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the important day you gave us yesterday. As we honored the legacy of Dr. King, your presence was everywhere as the world was reminded how precious the gift of freedom you have given us is. In this time of change, we ask you to draw the people of our great nation and its leaders closer to your ideal, that we may be a shining example to the rest of the world in your honor. We ask you to comfort and protect those without proper shelter during this bitter cold, and bless everyone in this meeting tonight with the grace and wisdom to make good decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, a roll call.
Walker.
Here.
Ryber.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Spire.
Here.
Deaton here. Susie.
Here.
Varder. Here.
Okay, and with that, as of 6:31, I would like to open up for call to the public, if anyone would like to address the board. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the call to the public. With that, and Trustee Walker, did you still have an adjustment to the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like us to move number 2 from the consent agenda into the regular agenda, and if I could get a motion for that.
I move approval of the consent agenda with item number 1, payment of bills.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion, support. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. So with that, item number 2, the approval of the regular minutes, we will need to approve the agenda as amended. So if I could get a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Do I have a
I'll second. I'll second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, the same? Motion carries. And with that, we will move on to item number 2, the minutes from the January 6, 2025 meeting. And if,
Okay.
Yeah.
So, there is a portion in the minutes that would be found on page 10, I believe. Oh, let me find it again. I'm sorry. My apologies. In the minutes from the previous meeting, underneath the My Genoa app portion, it says that I suggest, it's on page 9 of our package, actually, so page 3 of the minutes. So it says he suggests that Genoa Township develop an app. I did not suggest that Genoa Township develop an app. I stated that I would investigate the feasibility of Genoa Township getting an app similar to the city of Brighton's and the city of Howells. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, all set? Okay.
All good.
So with that, I seek a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll make a motion.
Okay?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion, I have support. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries, and it's approved. Okay, on to the regular agenda number 3. This is a consideration of a recommendation for approval and adoption of proposed ordinance number Z2502 regarding zoning map amendments involving 9.76 acres of land located at 410 South Hughes Road, parcel 4711-03-300-011, to rezone from public recreation facilities, PRF, to suburban residential, SR. Welcome.
Good evening, I'm Brent Levanway with Boss Engineering.
Jill Bianco, owner of the property.
We're here this evening to request the rezoning as stated in the agenda from the existing PRF to SR. The property is almost 10 acres with frontage on South Hughes Road. A large majority of this site is wetland. Jill currently owns a house on the property and intends to demolish it and build a new house. The current PRF zoning does not allow single-family residential homes, so the rezoning is necessary just for her to reconstruct her personal residence. And we are here this evening to request the rezoning as well as the approval of the environmental impacts statement, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. I know in some pre-discussion, a couple of people ask, I know a large portion of it is wetland. It didn't say, do you have a rough estimate as to how much you think is buildable versus
How
non-buildable?
much is buildable? Well, yes, so it's almost 10 acres, probably about 3 acres is buildable, roughly.
Okay.
And do you intend to only put one house up there, or do you intend to split it off in the future and build more houses?
No, I intend to just build one house.
Will the new house accommodate, I know that there was a new septic that was installed. Is the new house conformative to the septic, or is there going to have to be any changes that's going to be made to the field or anything?
To the best of my knowledge, no. We told them how many bedrooms there would be, and they said the square footage that we needed for the septic field, and we accommodated that with that size.
Okay.
And there isn't, by the way, public water or sewer to the property, so it's dependent upon septic system as well.
Okay. We did see that in the notes, and thank you for pointing that out. Anybody have any further questions?
I see the planning commission approved it, as well as the county planning commission
Yes,
approved it.
I believe both were unanimous recommendations of approval.
And it actually both came without conditions, so you must be pretty, pretty well set.
Yeah.
Ms. Bianco, or Mrs., I'm sorry, the address you have here is for Dearborn. It's got a phone number with the 313 area code. Is this going to be where you're going to move into? Is this going to be your residence?
The one we're talking about?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As a
Dearborn
primary?
is an old address. We're currently living in the house that's on the property now.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I did have just two small corrections I wanted to ask the applicant to make.
Okay.
The plans show a 50-foot front yard setback from the water, but in accordance with Article 3, Table 3.04.02, sites without public sanitary sewer have a minimum 100-foot setback from the shoreline, so I'd like to see the site plan revised to indicate that 100-foot setback.
Which is no problem, but just
for
specify it.
just to have the plans correct in the file. And then secondarily, regarding the plans, you do show the location of the wetlands, but I believe this is a stream that comes down and enters the lake, and that would also be considered a regulated wetland. So I'd like to see this plan revised so that the stream is also shown as a regulated wetland with the required 25-foot natural features buffer.
Are you intending to build the house in the same location that it's in, or are you on another part of the property?
We're going to be changing the footprint, but it's going to be in the same spot. It's just going to be a little bit bigger, and we're going to angle it a little bit differently.
Okay,
than it is.
excellent. Well, that's all I have.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion
I'll
on this
I'll make
request.
a motion. I move to approve and adopt ordinance number Z2502 to rezone parcel 471103300011 from public recreational facility to suburban residential. The proposed amendment to be the zoning map is consistent with section 2204 of the Township zoning ordinance, and the request is consistent with the Township future land use map, goals of the Township, and will not have a negative impact on the citizens of the Township.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a support. Any further discussion?
One question. Kelly had requested 2 minor changes, so do we approve with the goodwill faith that these are going to be updated?
That's a good question. We actually can't attach any conditions to a rezoning, so those items I would say we should include in the environmental impact assessment approval.
Okay.
Okay.
No further discussion.
Okay, no further discussion. And for this one, I will need a roll call.
Walker,
Aye.
Ryber,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
Deaton, aye. Susie,
Aye.
Varder,
Aye.
Spiker.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
No, we're not done.
We have one more little thing, but we've almost cleared to her.
So I was going to piggyback it on, but I'll just make it a second motion to approve the environmental impact assessment dated October 25th, 2024, to rezone 410 South Hughes Road, parcel 471103300011 from public recreational facility to suburban residential as submitted. Or is as submitted, or is that as?
The altered setbacks?
Actually, now that you say that, there was one other comment I meant to make about the impact assessment. If you can see on the screen under item C, it says that it's a 9.76 plus or minus acre wetland, which I don't think is accurate. I think the site is 9.76 acres. So I think a motion to approve the environmental impact assessment with that correction and with amendments to the site plan related to the waterfront setback and the regulated wetland would be sufficient.
Yes, that.
I bet Patty got that.
All right, and with that, I'll entertain a second.
I'll second.
Okay, sorry.
I don't think there was
I don't
one.
think we had one yet. So. Okay, so I have a motion. I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Now, congratulations.
Thank you for coming out this evening. And with that, we will move on to agenda item number 4, which is a request for approval to renew the cropland agreement for 2025 with Kathy and Tim Esper to maintain the historical agricultural use of 50.5 acres of fields located on parcel 4711231000-005, with revenue to be placed in Parks and Recreation Fund, line item number 208-000-434-001.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is exactly that. This is a request to enter into another year worth of cropland agreement for the property that the township purchased, not only with the MDNR recreation grant, but then also the Lyle Herbst family farm property. The Espers have been farming that property for many years. When the township acquired that land in 2023, they approached us about continuing to farm it. And so we entered into that cropland agreement with them. That did yield us revenue this year of $2,775.50. And I think it's a good idea for us to continue doing that. I don't have any concrete plans for that property right now, so allowing the farming to continue and generating a little revenue for Parks and Rec seems like not a bad choice for us to continue to make.
Okay.
I agree.
Can you tell me what they are growing on that property?
This past year it was corn. I do not know if they will grow corn again.
Okay, thank
Or
you.
soy. And the purpose of this, of course, is to keep the invasive stuff from coming in as opposed to just sitting there, right?
Correct, yeah. If the land was left just open and vacant, likely the invasive autumn olive that has proliferated this property would continue to spread throughout that property. It gives wildlife habitat, so I think until we have a distinct purpose for that property, this is a good use of it. And it continues with some of the agricultural heritage of our area.
The only question I had was the rate of 55 per harvested acre. I didn't know where that number had come from, and that was something that apparently years before Corrigan had been paid that, and we just carried that on. I didn't get an opportunity to check with some other farmers to see what the going rate for leased land is for farming, but I think it's okay this year, but I'm gonna look into it to see if that is a good rate for us, or, you know, I don't know if that's a
It
good
is
rate.
within the range. I did check with
Oh,
a
you
couple
did?
different places. 50 is a low, so 55 is above a low. I mean, if you have really good ground, you could get upwards of 100. I don't know if that qualifies as really good ground. I think given, the limitations we have and the fact that we don't want to do something with the it is benefiting us, benefits the Espers, who are longtime contributors to our county. So I find it to be a good use.
Continuity has a value.
The preservation of this area as natural agriculture growing.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Excellent. With that, if there's no further discussion, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a support. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. All right. Next is agenda item number 5, consideration of a request to authorize the Township Supervisor to exercise a letter of engagement with Foster Swift to act as special counsel in regard to the validity of the Innovation Park Planned Unit Development Agreement in the South Latson Road area.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did, following meetings in December of the Planning Commission and this Board of Trustees, move forward to seek special counsel to represent us in regard to the Innovation Interchange South Latson PUD. We are recommending Mike Homier with Foster Swift for board consideration this evening. I know we talked at the last meeting about giving the supervisor the authority to sign that. This came in pretty close to the time that we were preparing the packet for this meeting, so we felt like it would be best just to put the choice or the quote before the board and seek your support to move forward.
There seems to be quite a large list of attorneys at Foster Swift. Do they have any conflict of interest with the developer involved with this?
They do have to do an analysis of conflict before they can promulgate a letter of engagement. And so, no, there is not found to be any conflict of interest.
Okay.
There were some firms that we were not able to use because of that.
Mhm.
Michael is representing us on our other case, as you know, so we have familiarity with him, he has familiarity with us.
I'm just concerned about the size of the
No,
firm.
absolutely, no, I
and-
understand, absolutely. Legitimate question.
We know what his hourly rate or their hourly rate is going to be. Have they given us any kind of guesstimation as to how many hours they're gonna spend investigating the validity of the PUD, the Latson PUD?
We do not know, we haven't been able to, we'll have a meeting once we sign the letter of engagement, and, I'm pretty confident they'll be able to at least give us a range. I'm not sure if this is something that's been tackled before or not, I'm sure they've seen quite a bit in their time, they are land use attorneys, so I'm sure they've seen quite a bit, but, no, there is no estimate as to cost on this one.
Are we, Kevin, I think we kind of set a ballpark figure of $10,000 for his first investigation for the solar and wind, appeal.
We did.
We did? Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Are we doing something similar in this case?
We can,
Setting a
if
not
the
to
board so
exceed.
chooses. I don't know, I don't have a great idea of a number to suggest for a cap, because I do not know. This is a fairly important item.
Oh, yeah.
It was bumped up to us
Oh, yeah.
by the planning commission, so I would hate to run short of funds.
And I hate to run into delaying anything.
Oh, me too.
'cause
Me too.
I'd like to see this move forward as quick as it can.
I'm with you, but you answered my question, you're gonna
We'll
meet
get on
with
the
him, and once he gets
Yeah,
kicked off.
yeah,
and
we'll
try to
have
get
an
him.
idea.
Okay.
This isn't gonna be a major 12-year undertaking. I mean, I do think this will be a
Okay.
a fairly.
I think it's going to be fairly quick.
I would think so, that's why I'm asking,
Some of that will be determined by the local courts. We will have no control over that, but I am confident the attorney will move with haste.
Okay, thank you.
Any other further questions?
No, I'm
With
comfortable.
that, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to go ahead and authorize Township Supervisor to execute a letter of engagement with Foster Swift to act as special counsel in regard to the validity of the Innovation Park Planned Unit Development Agreement at the South Latson Road area.
Okay.
Second it.
I have a motion. I have support. Any further discussion? With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Okay, motion carried. On to action item number 6. This is a request for approval to direct township staff to generate a vacancy report of businesses and land for parcels along Grand River Avenue as requested by trustee Reiber. Bill, would you like to comment? The floor is yours.
So, this is something that, I feel that's important, to Genoa Township. Everybody here knows that the township has a lot of vacant land. We have vacant storefronts and businesses along Grand River Avenue, which is currently zoned for commercial. That's our battleship alley as far as businesses goes. So what I was asking for is, could we get pulled together a list of the vacant businesses along Grand River Avenue, along with some other detailed information, for example, who's the landlord, what was the rent, when was the last time it was occupied, what are they asking for new tenants. The intent is to kind of help them or reach out and find out what it is that you need, what can we do for you to make it easier for you to get tenants, and put people into those shops. Absolutely. So that's the reason for the request, is to just start an investigation to see what we can do to fill those vacancies.
Okay. Now, did Kelly, were you able to provide him with the report from the ED?
He did.
Yeah, and I do think this is an important topic for the board to talk about. The 2023 master plan had a lot in it about revitalizing the Grand River corridor. I think we may be at an important point in our community's commercial corridor, because I'm seeing, at least in the community, what I think is a pretty big turnover in some of our more vacant shopping centers. So the largest one being the Grand River Plaza, which used to be Carson's and Dunham's. I don't know how many of you saw, but Hobby Lobby did officially start construction on that center last week. So that's going to be an addition to that building, a complete remodel of the parking lot and the buildings, which I think is going to start kind of generating that turnover in the community that we're all hoping to see. I know also the former Dick's Sporting Goods building across the street from that. We have a project coming forward for that property that involves a mix of retail, potentially a financial institution. Also the old Middletown Market. We have a market vendor that's looking at that space. So I do think, as compared to a few years ago, we actually know that we're going to start getting and seeing investment in our corridor. And I think that bodes well too. I got a report from the Livingston County Economic Development Council. I reached out to them and they provided me a vacancy report. It's 45 pages, so I didn't include the entire report in your packet. I do have it here this evening. I can play it on the screen if you'd like. But it essentially shows a fairly low vacancy rate for Genoa Township for our commercial businesses. It definitely needs some refinement and some fact checking to make sure that everything in it is accurate. And the Economic Development Group has committed to me that if they get some funding and personnel in place within the next month or so, they may be able to take this and put a little more time into it and give Trustee Reiber exactly what he's looking for. So at least from my perspective, while I think encouraging turnover in Grand River and filling our vacancies is important, I think we may be at a point where this could be taking care of itself. And also I think we have a group that we can lean on to provide us some more information. So from my perspective, I'd like to sort of see if we can get the Economic Development Group to further refine this, and then maybe revisit this and see if we really feel like it's necessary to spend a lot of time going through the vacancies, because I'm pretty confident right now things seem to be making a market correction all on its own.
How recent is that list from them?
This was December 19th of 24.
Okay, so it's not that old.
Yeah, there was a graphic that went along with it that I can show you.
Yeah, one of the things, board members, it seems that sometimes government is slow, right? And my intent is to be aggressive And if I have to be a thorn, if I have to call, just casual, to kind of keep information flowing quickly, because it is important. And if the hammer is about to strike, I think we need to make sure that it just keeps striking, that we stay aggressive with this and we keep our foot on the gas pedal. So that's why I'm asking for this, so that we're not beholden to somebody else, slow bureaucracy and all this kind of stuff, just to stay on top of it and keep pushing,
I do think the EDLC may actually, they have some pretty good resources. There's been a little bit of upheaval, so actually today I attended an organizational meeting, and they are investigating they're going to change who is supplying the employees to it. The same employee will basically be there. She's just going to move under a different umbrella if the agreement passes. They may be better resourced to do this work than our current staff. We've got a fair amount piled on them with some of the different things that we're proposing to do. So if we have them do this, we may draw some staff away from another project that we have working on.
What is the nature of our relationship with them then? Are we their customer?
We are a member community, so we have a seat on the board. You're talking the economic development, yeah, so we're a member municipality, so we have a seat on the board.
And that's what they're there for.
Yeah, this is kind of what they do.
Yeah, this
so
is their specialty.
They do a lot of retention, and then they do some seeking of new as well. So I do think that they may have better data to accomplish what you're hoping to do. They're temporarily in a little bit of a sideline right now, just because there was some changing in the funding. A large funder pulled out, so.
On the map, what do the gray and the blue represent?
Yeah, so the gray, every triangle on this map represents a business that they are tracking in the community. The gray is not vacant, the blue is vacant. So, and some of that is maybe a tenant space inside a building, right, where you have a multi-tenant building and there is a vacancy in the building.
Yeah.
This is a copy of just the last page of that report. So you can see here they're tracking 396 properties representing 8.5 million square feet of space. And then there's, about 3.5% vacant available space, 4.2% total available space. And then there's some leasing activity and net absorption things, which mean a lot to someone in economic development, but not so much to me.
3.5% vacant is a lot lower than I would have expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just driving down the road,
I admit,
my eyes tell me something different than what the data's the data.
I do like the idea of seeing, so we do have about 4 really sizable developments coming that are going to beautify and really spruce up separate areas along the corridor, and that, in a way, I'm kind of hoping that spurs additional.
Yeah, when
And if
Kelly
we can
said
let
that they're
that
gonna
happen,
rehab
yes.
the parking lot, that's
That'll be
great.
huge.
That's a
That'll be
big
huge.
parking lot.
To your point, Bill, driving down the road, you'd think it would be a much higher number, but what this report is probably not showing is people that are paying rent that aren't occupying the building.
Yeah, possibly.
They're paying, they're not just in there, that's the issue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I guess I would keep in mind too that we have access to some information, right? But we're not commercial real estate brokers. I don't have access to like commercial MLS data. So while I can drive by and kind of do inventory of what space appears to be empty, whether or not there's someone who's leasing in that space, I don't have access to that data.
Or how much they charge, or
Correct.
when the last tenant was, or yeah.
Okay. Well, all I can do is ask for it. If it's
Oh.
not available, then
No, absolutely.
I just wanted to get this thing going, and if we have we're a member of an organization that's what they do, then my only concern is please do it quickly.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth leaning on them and keep this
Absolutely.
going.
There's a good term. There's a good term.
But I am encouraged by, development that's
Okay.
coming, improvements to the existing buildings that are here. So I'm kind of excited to see how that shakes out and what that looks like driving from Brighton to Howell through Genoa.
Now, just, sorry for this one last thing.
No?
For example, Hobby Lobby, I think just about everybody around here knows that's gonna be Hobby Lobby. Do people not put, hey, future home of Hobby Lobby, do they put their signs in front of there anymore?
That's,
Some do, some don't. Mr. Car Wash was quick to put up there, Mr. Car Wash coming soon sign.
Right.
I'm
Unfortunately,
hoping,
Panda was really slow in putting their sign up, so.
Yeah.
so, no, it's,
on a case-by-case
Yeah,
basis.
okay.
I
I didn't
think
know
they
if it was
figure that enough
required.
people seem to know.
Yeah, in this case, I think they do, but
The project has begun though, so it's no longer.
Yeah, I
I'm
saw
sure
that.
that has to go through corporate stuff, but once they get it, they will put it up. Because I'm sure that they're going to want the business and the free advertising.
Right.
okay.
and what I know of the retail marketplace is that they tend to look at who's there, right? So when you're a Starbucks or a Trader Joe's and you're looking at where do I want to build my next store, they actually tend to follow certain types of businesses.
Right.
So where you see, if you were to Google Hobby Lobby across the state, you will likely see a number of businesses either in the same
Like-
plaza with
Like
them
similar neighbors.
or within a short distance of them, right? There's kind of this synergy that comes from attracting a national regional tenant like that.
The suckerfish on
That's
that.
exactly.
Sometimes they share data, that's why Walmart and Lowe's are often together. Lowe's just pays Walmart for their market research.
It's the same owners, though, Lowe's and Walmart.
When they started, true. It wasn't, but yes.
So hoping kind of the rising tide theory will start to take care of this for us. But it's good to be concerned about it. It's something that's been ongoing in our community. And I think it's important that we continue to track it. And I do think our partnership with economic development is a perfect partnership to try and bring this forward.
I don't know if it requires a motion to have staff directed. I think it probably, Bill, if you're,
That's what I was
this is
just
a hot
gonna
button
ask.
for you, you get on with economic development and keep your pulse on them a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, the item here is to approval to direct township staff to generate a vacancy report. It sounds like all we would be doing is getting information fed to us from the economic development.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a weird to make a motion to direct the staff to, when they're gonna do the work for us.
Yeah.
If you wanted to kind of look at some commercial real estate stuff, there's a website called LoopNet. You can go on there and kind of do a search of the general area, but look for land purchase as well as office leasing or just leasing. And it should, do a little bit of a report for what you're looking for.
Yeah.
It's just the commercial MLS that has, public access to it.
Okay, thanks, Janine.
This could also be something that we look at as part of that master plan update, but I know we wanted to focus really on getting that update started and ongoing. But it is something we could maybe revisit with that consultant since we have that up and running, that they could include that as part of the master plan update potentially if we wanted.
Okay. So back to the question, then, do we need to make a motion to authorize staff to pursue this or strike this from the agenda?
You could either
Or
table.
move it to a topic of
or
discussion?
You could instead
Withdraw.
direct Kelly to coordinate with the Economic Development Council to refine the report that they already provided to her. Now, again, may not happen tomorrow, but I think 60 to 90 days, we could probably see something.
So could we move this then to 3 meetings from now and bring it up again as an item of discussion? How are we doing on this?
Yeah,
What-
we can do that. We can postpone
Whatever
it.
you'd like, yeah.
Postpone.
2 months? Do you think that's enough, Kelly?
I do. At least that, I will definitely know within 2 months whether or not Livingston County Economic Development Council will have the ability to move forward on this. So I think within 2 months is good for at least to know if that option still exists.
Okay.
And if not, then to pivot to something else.
Okay. So let me see how I would say this. I would like to make a motion to take item agenda number 6, the request for approval to direct township staff to generate a vacancy report, and table this and revive it again in 60 days or 2 meetings from now as a topic of discussion, not necessarily an agenda item.
60 days, might be 3 meetings.
3 or 4 meetings.
We could just table it to March 17th.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
excellent.
St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right.
I have a motion.
Support.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. On to item number 7. This is a request for approval of a proposal to return existing copier printer equipment in accordance with the current lease and purchase new copier printers from the general fund, General Government Equipment Software Maintenance Fund number 101-261-751-000. There was quite a bit of information in your packet. I jumped in pretty heavy on this one to help Adam out and talk to staff to get their opinions of what they needed in a copier / printer to accomplish their tasks. And many of them gave me some suggestions. I passed those along to our vendors, and they all provided equipment that met those requirements of the staff, so I'm very confident that what we've done. The staff will be happy either way. Both of there were three vendors submitted bids, proposals. One was quite high. We did include it for your perusal in the packet, but it was not what we would feel would be competitive. So we narrowed it down to either Sharp or Toshiba. Both sales representatives, as I mentioned, are Genoa residents. Both have excellent records of service, and I am confident that we would get good quality service. Our current provider, over the years, was moved farther and farther away from us, so our service level suffered. I think using somebody local, in this instance especially, is key. And let's see what else. One minor hiccup, as I mentioned, or just one minor thing. We do have a KIP plotter, which we're now beyond my level of expertise, but we have this printer that's expensive. The Toshiba bunch can service it under a monthly plan, whereas Sharp cannot. However, they will provide it will be a service fee and cost of parts plus, labor, basically. And it's a little bit of a gamble in terms of, if something super expensive breaks, you'll be really bummed out. If nothing expensive breaks, we'll look like heroes. It's just a question of, do you want to fix your costs a little more? We did investigate doing another lease, and it does not make sense. Purchase is absolutely the most financially sound decision. So I can share with you the lease numbers, but they don't work out at all.
I have a question and a statement.
Okay.
Is there any type of warranties with these printers? How long are the warranties?
So interestingly enough, one of our bidders is here in the office, or in the meeting this evening, and if you would like, I will allow him to answer a couple of questions.
Okay.
If you'd like to, yeah, if you don't mind talking right into the mic so those at home can hear you. Try to keep it closer than you probably would like to, but you'll kind of hear yourself in the background, so that's how you'll know that people at home are hearing.
Thank you. I'm Matthew Whitbrodt, long-term Genoa Township resident. I own ImageTech, which is the Sharp solutions that we're bidding on. So with warranty, manufacturer's warranty, they are actually encumbered within the cost per copy, which is the service agreement. So standard manufacturer's warranty, and by the way, I've been doing this for 37 years, had my company for 25. They only give 30 days warranty on parts and defective parts and associated labor. All of those elements are already factored into the cost per copy and how we compute the cost per copies of monthly charges, and that is standard throughout the industry.
Okay.
That's a good question.
One thing I want to make a statement on, I do see it, I don't know if this is under your quote or if it's under the other companies, but there is an estimate on page 124 of the packet that says on-demand ballot printing. The clerk's department has no, they're not going to print any ballots. We get our ballots directly from the county, and we have a state-approved ballot printer that is used for early voting that we print in front of the voter. So we do not need a printer for ballot printing, as the clerk's department has no intention on printing any ballots. I just want to make that very clear. We
In
need-
fairness to Matt, that's in the Toshiba bid, so he probably doesn't
Okay.
know about that. but
Yes,
it was a
there's not
general
a-
flyer.
there's not a
So I just
ballot
want to make that
printer.
very clear.
Thank
It is
you.
in our packet, and
Yes.
what we need is a printer that's going to handle the voter registration cards and our master cards, which are the size of a postcard.
Yes, we
That's the
have
only-
covered that quite extensively with some of the end users that actually use those printers. So that is checked, and we're also taking over 3 HP printers, which I believe is also encumbered with the ballot printing. So both areas are covered with the new solution and your current solution.
What ballot printing, what are you talking about?
So I believe that you print some ID voter cards on your HPs.
Yes,
Yes, so we are going to be servicing those. We're taking those over.
okay.
Yes, and there are 2 printers for the clerk's office, and so those are covered. But there is not one for an actual voter ballot printer, so that's
Okay.
not my bid.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I said I wasn't sure if it was under
Yes,
yours or the
sorry
other
about that. I
one, but there
confused you.
is,
Confused myself.
yeah, okay.
The
Thank you so
clerk
much.
wants to make sure that nobody thinks that she's printing ballots.
I'm not
on
printing
that.
ballots in the back room.
Yes,
Doing
I
anything crazy like
understand.
that, so.
I understand today's landscape.
So, does
Well-
anybody have any other?
Yeah, this was a lot of information to go over, and honestly, most of it made no sense at all to me. So I leaned on Kevin and Adam because they thankfully did the legwork on this. And going with the recommendation that I got from staff, surprisingly, I would lean toward the higher quote, which is the Toshiba quote.
So, in that same vein, Image Tech and Toshiba, we're not comparing apples and apples here, we're
No.
comparing apples and oranges. If you look down below, the Image Tech quote for a higher speed printer would have come in at 41,000, actually more money.
Right.
And I know that there's been some outside discussion about, do we need 90 pages a minute versus 55? I think when you're printing bills and someone's stuck in that room for 3 days, there's a lot of staff time trying to get that through. So I agree with you, Robin, that I would, and the other thing that I'm not happy with is the monthly maintenance is a variable dollar based on previous usage, where Toshiba is doing a fixed rate. I would much rather have a fixed rate rather than variable, because if you've bought anything in the past with a variable rate, it's great introductory rate, and then it goes crazy later on, and I don't want to be facing that. I would rather be a locked-in rate and a locked-in, knowing that this will handle everything and at the speed we really do need. So I also would go with the recommendation of Toshiba in this situation.
Do you have the ability to match what the Toshiba's quote is or beat it?
So based on, so we
Without
always quote
Toshiba here, I don't believe
environments.
That's appropriate.
Pardon me?
That's not appropriate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
we always quote environments based on current volume. And when you look at one's environment where it's commercial, township-based, we're fortunate enough to have Osceola, Hamburg, and a few other, Putnam and West Bloomfield. Most of the volumes vary anywhere from 5 to 10%. So if you're at, I think it was 33,000 black and white and 5,000 color, it's going to stay within a 5 to 10% range, depending on your constituents and depending on if residents, your township is growing at a significant volume. So based on, because there was a packet on the website, so I was fortunate enough to print it out and do some numerics. Based on Image, my company's monthly volume at 446, there's fixed at 610. First year only, we're saving the township $1,963. Year 2, because we do bump it up 10%, because parts, labor, and there's consumption parts, it'll be saving the township $1,428. In year 3, $800, for a total savings of $4,231, just on service. So that takes in consideration, there's also a savings when you look at my bid of $41,118 to go to the 90 ppm unit prints per minute, there's still a savings of over $2,000. So I was blessed before I started Image. I was president of Toshiba of Michigan. I know the company very well. I know their ins and outs, and I'm not here to say anything bad about Sharp as a great unit. Doing this for 37 years, it's reliable. I'm literally 3 minutes down the street, and I give you my guarantee that you'll be taken care of.
I just wanted to clarify something I think I heard, but I'm not sure. So there's 3 existing printers in the building that your quote is proposing not to replace.
Based on the environment and the workflow, we are going to take over those HP devices based on the employees that said, we like it, they're relatively new, there's really no need to upgrade them. So we're simply taking over service, and service encompasses toner, parts, and associated labor. Another key thing with my devices, I do have a lifetime guarantee, so you're going to purchase these assets. So if there's year 5, typically most devices usually last for 5 years. Year 6, if there's not a budget and you continue on because of taxpayer dollars, I still have a guarantee that in year 6, if it becomes a lemon, I will replace that asset with a like system for free. I do have a free loaner guarantee and I have a 98% uptime guarantee.
Was there any reason why you quoted on the 55 versus the 90?
At first, we did a like for like. That's what the current Xerox was. Typically with most nonprofits or not-for-profit, you look at the volume and we try to not right size, but you look at the spend and what the environment's doing, and we're informed at that point to do a like for like. Coming back, the feedback was let's go higher at 90. The 55 page per minute will do 30,000 a month. We have many clients doing 55,000 a month. The benefit of going faster is it is higher productivity for your employees. They print a 300 page document, it's going to print it 63% faster at a 90 page per minute. But the 55 will do well. I have a school that has 2 of them, and one is doing 50,000 a month on the 55 page a minute, and the other device is doing about 25.
The difference for us, though, is we do big jobs, you know. We do 8,000 plus
3 times a
tax
year.
bills, 2 times a year. Assessing does delinquent personal property statements, plus they do their assessment notices as well. And you're talking above 8,000 in them.
Their eyes lit up when they saw the higher speed. And so Matt did provide us a quote for the higher speed machine. In fairness, the initial RFP, before I got involved, was the 55 that he quoted, which was what we asked for. And then they just happened to notice, some of the staff, when I gave them the brochures, noticed the higher speed on the other one and said, hey, what's this? And I said, oh, okay. So, and we did give Matt a chance to also quote the same type of equipment so that we were comparing apples to apples.
So if I can comment on the fixed cost. So right now, based on your current environment, you would pay $446 with me. We'd pay $610 with Toshiba. So you're wasting funds that don't need to be wasted. You're not doing that volume today, so why would you want to guarantee a fixed rate for a higher rate that you're not using for, you may never lapse that. So that's a 42.31 of taxpayer dollars.
So I'm gonna kind of just break this down logic. So I get efficiency is good. It's gonna happen a couple of times a year where having a higher horsepower, more output is gonna be beneficial to us, but probably for 90%, 55 is doing okay. And I'm putting words in people's mouths. Robin, correct me. Janine, you guys have staff that use these assets all the time. But I'm just trying to make sure it makes sense in my head. So there's gonna be a premium price to pay to give you extra horsepower for a small fraction. Much less than 50% of your time you're gonna need the higher horsepower. And then, what is the delta? What, $4,000, $5,000? What's the difference between? A 55?
believe it
and a
was
35, it's
It jumped up
3,500.
around, but the
35,
difference
85.
between the quoted 55 of Sharp and the 90 of Toshiba was about $3,000 more.
Over the course of 5 years?
No.
Well, it's a one-time buy.
One-time
Well, it
purchase.
lasts, it's gonna, we're gonna get that horsepower for 5
They
years.
will, yeah, they will last more than 5 years.
So
They
if you
should.
subtract his quote, oh, I'm sorry, I messed up, 41,118.85
You'd have to add it.
minus 35,503.85, $5,615 for the 55 compared to the 90.
To jump, yes. The Toshiba number was.
I'm talking about image
Yeah,
text.
yep, to jump up to his.
You would add it.
It is,
To jump up
it is
to
a
his.
significant jump. It's not insignificant, absolutely.
So again, mathematically, if I may, so my bid is 41,118, which is a little over $2,000 over Toshiba. Based on your current print environment, over 3 years, I'm saving you I'm lower of 4,200. So I'm 2,000 higher on the asset purchase, saving you 4,231 the first 3 years.
You're not guaranteeing that rate.
I am not guaranteeing that rate. Correct.
That's my point.
But you're not printing that today. Do you think that you're going to print, I don't have my calculator on me, so that would be 61, 21, 30, so that would be a 40% increase in monthly volume. I don't know many spaces, even legal, that change an environment by 40%. And the best thing about me is if your print volume goes below 30,000, say it's 25,000 one month, I'm going to bill you at 25,000.
The only one small concern I have is I know with the per unit price, it is more to print, obviously, on the small desktop units
That is correct.
than the larger, and I understand why, because of the toner and whatnot. That would mean if we're getting close, we'd have to say, hey, can you print it to the big printer instead of the one right there on your desk? So it could cause an issue with staff. I am comfortable either way. I think they're great units. I think we're gonna get great service. I think staff will be pleased either way. I do think we should consider the larger, the faster print. This is only for the big unit that does the monster print. The rest of them are all the same.
I have a question here. So the Image Tech is saying that we're going to reuse 3 of the clerk's printers, so I'm not getting new printers. Does the Toshiba quote have the same thing? Are we comparing apples to apples? Am I reusing the same printers with the Toshiba, or is the clerk's department getting new printers?
The Toshiba did quote all new printers because they weren't confident.
There's one exception to that.
It's
The election printer,
Probably the one the state bought.
the HP 4250, keep in service. So the Toshiba quote proposes to keep that particular
Just one.
election.
That's my voter registration card one?
Then there's another, the election special requirements printer. Currently, it's an HP Enterprise, and they are proposing replacing that with the Brother HL. That is the election-specific printer that mentions ballots that
Won't be balanced.
won't be ballots. So this proposal does include a new clerk's office printer, a new treasurer's office printer. The 3 HPs that I believe the Sharp contract intends to keep is 1 for the treasurer and 2 for the elections.
So the clerk's office is getting a new black and white, and so is the township manager.
There's 2 election
there's-
printers, though, that you're proposing to keep.
What is our item to motion and approve for number 7? And this just says we're gonna motion and we're gonna allow to return these. The lease is expired and we're gonna purchase some new, it's gonna come from the general fund. That's what we're seeking approval of, right, from the board to do that, is just return these and go buy some new ones.
Both companies have provided a number to
return.
ship the old stuff back to Dallas, Texas.
When is this gonna take place?
So both have offered to provide us a loaner for our big machine that's broken, like tomorrow.
When is the lease up?
It expired already.
Ooh.
So this
is
became
time
of
sensitive.
haste,
Gotcha.
so that's unfortunately why we had to step in and kind of do
Right.
this a little quicker than we would have liked to. But yeah, it became very, very, very urgent. It wasn't necessarily that it became expired, it's that Xerox called us up and said, we don't want you anymore. Even though we didn't pay our bills late or do anything wrong, they just didn't,
They said you
they
missed
were
it.
done with us.
Yep.
Are both of the proposals within the budget?
Yes.
And if I may ask, I'm not privy certainly to the Toshiba quote. With my quote, you're getting 15 new assets.
Well,
One large.
I'm going to go back to my original statement. You know, this was a lot to try to figure out. And it's not comparing apples to apples. And that was where I leaned on Adam a lot. And I'm going to stick with his recommendation of Toshiba.
I will entertain any motion anyone has on the purchasing of.
I could make,
Isn't the motion just to authorize to purchase new ones out of the general fund and then,
Well, we
or
have
is
to
this going to
also
motion?
We have to
pick who we're gonna-
direct.
pick
We're
who
going
we're
to select
gonna
which
take.
one, which supplier we would like to go with, the dollar amount.
well, I would make a motion to go with to accept the quote from Toshiba for $39,089.
I'm sorry,
that-
Robin, could you tell me why Adam's recommendation was to go with Toshiba? I'm just curious, is it because of the fixed dollar amount per month, or is it because, what was he?
He had several items that he had listed. One of the big ones was returning the machines for us and getting us out of any penalties. I'm not sure if penalties is the right word or not, but and getting those machines returned as soon as possible. And he was just more comfortable with the replacement pieces that Toshiba was recommending.
One small added benefit is that, well, not super small, apparently Toshiba works with US Bank, so, and I don't know.
So
if
do
they
we,
or not, But,
yeah.
you know, they were confident that they could, you know, smooth
It'll
out
be a
whatever
smooth
hiccups we're
transition.
going to have with
Yep.
the returns.
They were gonna take care of any liability in the lease.
Yep.
We
And
do
now,
the
I don't
same.
know, you know, Adam dealt with all the
Yeah.
technology. The technology is Greek to me. I just, you know, try to kind of oversee things.
Yeah, we
here.
do the same. We insure it, we create it, we ship it back, we return it. We do the same. As I mentioned, I ran that company.
I just wanted to add, I think he also felt like there was a comparison in your packet of the different machines. I think he felt like the Toshiba machines were just a little bit faster, held a little bit more paper, right? Just a little bit more of an upgrade. And I also know the KIP was something that he felt pretty strongly about, that he wanted to use, make sure we were using a company that was capable of servicing the KIP. For those that don't know what the KIP is, it's a large-scale plotter, so that's
It
what
is.
we print large-scale plans
Site
on.
plans.
And so having someone that was familiar with and able to service that piece of equipment, I know
MHOG does use it a
was
lot.
important to him.
We do service KIP plotters. It was just difficult to put it onto a linear foot contract, as I'm not KIP authorized, but we do service KIP printers on a time and material basis. And as Mr. Spire mentioned, a linear foot is, you're paying for all the supplies and a potential breakdown just in case. I don't know how often the KIPs, your current Xerox tech comes out for the KIP plotter. Say he or she doesn't come out for 2 or 3 months, you're saving money with me.
So
And
it's
again, we
as
deal with
needed?
leasing companies all the time,
You'd only come out as we need you?
as needed. Just like your automobile, if your automobile breaks, you're going to take it to a service a place versus paying $100 a month just in case. So, and I can't stress enough that it doesn't make sense to me mathematically and as a resident, as a taxpayer, to pay $160 a month on prints that you're not using for 3 years. That's what not your volume is today. So why would you spend $160 a month? Doesn't make sense to me. And it sounds like I'm being aggressive, and I apologize in my demeanor and my delivery, but
Nope, I
We're
understand.
total
Patience
consumption
is,
based. What you print is what we bill for, not just in
There's
case.
something to do with peace of mind also, that we're locked in.
I get
We don't
that,
have to
sir.
think about it. It's not gonna jump up to 702 months or some other number.
Did you look at the contract? Is there any asterisks that,
On yours, or?
no, on theirs? It's peace of
No,
mind. Is there?
It's fixed for 3 years,
Okay.
fixed rate. That's pretty straightforward. Anyway.
Doing this for 37 years, there's always nuances, but,
Is the kit broken or
No.
damaged?
I
It
don't-
runs good?
What's that?
How old is the kit and does it run good?
The kip is 2 or 3 years old.
So it's still
Might be a
got
little
run
older
along.
than
Might
that,
be a
but
little
it's,
older than
Is it?
yeah, it's about 5, I think.
Okay, so.
But it's running
It
good.
it is a very high-quality product, so the kip is in good shape, and should provide years of good service.
and I believe Osceola was, and they've been a client for a number of years, and I don't think they had, I think they had Xerox before. And I believe that was a reference that was communicated with, spoken about, and they gave us a glowing reference, which is right down the street, as you know.
As far as the kit goes, I would tend to agree with our speaker here. It runs well, it's relatively new, you've got a few more good years out of it. Roll the dice, you're probably not gonna get any big ticket, expensive repairs. So I agree, paying for a repair cost monthly or whatever, when you're never gonna use it, seems to be a waste. Me personally, I would take the chance and just piecemeal out my service on that.
And you can view the kip separate from the, that's totally up to you.
Yeah.
That the board can make the decision to do a locked-in contract on the printers and not do a locked-in on the kip if that's what they so decide.
Sir, how do you determine your variable amount? Like, how often does it adjust? Is it just on a, could you explain how that variable
So our
rate is?
service agreements, great question. Our service agreements adjust annually, and typically they're 10, 10, 15, 20 for the township. I told my rep to guarantee it for 2 years, and then the third year we'll jump up 10%. So based on your current environment, you'll be paying $446.34 for 2 years, based on 31,000 black and white and 5,100 color. And that's a huge savings.
So on this estimate, it doesn't say
No.
2 years.
No,
It
it doesn't.
says that it's 446.34. This is variable total. This is page 51 of the
Yes.
packet.
So that was
I
just a
did print
summary
that
I
out.
tried to put together, because I
Yes.
know it was confusing, but I did want everybody to really, see what it is we're buying. This is not a small sum of money we're talking about here.
It is
No, I
not.
understand.
So I pulled the data from 2024, and that is the exact number of prints we made in 2024. That's what they would cost in 2025 if we use the exact same amount.
Okay, but what you're saying is you have it fixed, this 446 approximately for 2 years?
Based on your current volume, correct.
Yes. His
So-
price per print or price per page
Again, I don't
is
know,
fixed for 2 years.
most townships, the reason why you increase your print volume, your scan volume, your environment changes is because the township is bursting from residential and commercial. I'm blessed that I've been in Genoa Township for 20 years, seen a lot of change, but I don't see it increasing your print volume 40 to 50% in 3 years.
Does it go down if we do not?
Yes, ma'am. So again, if you don't do, so if you go to 25,000 black and white, which is different today at 31, I'm only going to bill you 25,000. So 6,000, you would save like $56 for that month. It's a consumption, whatever you use, consumption-based program.
And how do you determine the amount that we use every month? Do
We
you-
have a software called Printinista, which we talked to Adam about. It'll be resident on your network, and the device will email us, and each device emails us their meter. We can carbon copy Adam, anybody on the board or within the township itself, our contact, and which would verify that actual meter, so there's no phone calls. We also do auto toner shipping. So the device will tell us when it's out of black, yellow, magenta, cyan. One great thing too is I do not charge for toner shipping. I believe they do. that I don't charge for shipping costs or what have you, but the device will email us.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
It's a lot to process.
Where does it say in the proposal that it's locked for 2 years? I can't.
I don't know if my sales rep put that in there. If it's not in there, maybe he didn't get it to Adam. I only went to page, your packet, our packet was 188 pages, and it took quite some time to find page 51, I think it was. I did not see that
Is it this page that's up
either.
on the screen right now, the cost per copy? Is that where it
Yes,
would
I have
typically
that.
be?
That is correct. That is our document, and then I did not see that either. So as Ms. Hunt said, I don't know if it's fair that she was not here, but I will guarantee you that rate for 2 years if it's not on that doc, but. And then we do go up year 3 at 10%, and year 4 at 10. And that's as rent, insurances, cost, wages go up. I do pass a certain percentage to the clients, and I burden the other percentage of uplift.
I'm sorry, could you tell me again, I know that you mentioned it, but what were the 3 HP printers that were going to be serviced under your program?
So, sheepishly, I was not involved in the grassroots element of where those HP printers were. I was only involved from an element that the desire from the township is that, can we service it? And yes, we service many HP, Dell, and Lexmark or Lexmark dealer as well through managed print services contract. So yes.
So you will just take over and purchase them from,
So those are assets you own. You already own those HP printers.
do we own those ones? I thought those were under lease. Are those leased or are those owned?
Those are, to my knowledge, Adam said you owned them.
Okay.
So we're going to just maintenance it. So anytime you print, you're going to be charged a cost per copy charge, which includes any future toner, any future service calls, and associated labor.
Okay.
There's nothing missing.
And it looks like 2 of those are in the election department and 1 is the treasurer's. At least that's on the Toshiba. If you go to the Toshiba quote, which I understand is his competitor's quote, you can see that there are 3 HPs listed.
I've been gimping along with mine. I'm not sure why mine would stay.
Yeah, I just wish I knew which ones there
Yeah.
are because the clerk's department has 3 printers and, I mean, Cindy's printer is just going nonstop, you know?
It does.
So there's, yeah, we're putting 8 printers, and I apologize, I'm at the podium speaking. I don't know where those 8 printers are being designated for.
So
protect the innocent, we
I'm
did remove the
gonna
names.
sum up my thoughts, and
Please do.
I'm okay to be outvoted on this or whatever, but my thoughts are, number 1, stick with the Sharp. Number 2, stick with the 55 copies per minute. And this is where, right, it's gonna be contentious. I like the benefit of not paying the ongoing maintenance fee. That, to me, right now, chances are it's gonna be highly unlikely we're gonna have a major failure with the kit printer because it's relatively new and it's running fine right now. So my proposal would be take the initial 55 page per unit from Sharp, take advantage of the of not paying the extra service fee for the kit printer, and go with that lower quoted amount.
I do have a question though. If we had to replace, so I think that you're keeping 3 of our printers. One's for the treasurer's department, 1 is for the clerk's, or 2 of them are for the clerk's department. And I'm not 100% sure what they are, but is there a possibility that you could give us a quote on replacing those so we could actually compare apples to apples? Because the Toshiba included replacement of those printers.
So is there 17, again, I don't have Toshiba's, is there 17 assets on the Toshiba quote?
Page is that?
The package is so
can't
big.
find
it. I get it.
Yes, I
I'm like
apologize for
I've been trying to find it, but
Being included a few too much.
Because there is one of my printers that's not doing well, and without them test printing, I would hate to agree to keep it.
Yeah, so I have.
And same with the
So in terms
treasurer,
of-
what she said, that's the
Is
only
it
thing.
does it have a scanner on top of that printer, or is it strictly a printer?
It's just strictly a printer.
Yeah, so I have 8 printers, and unfortunately, I don't have,
Yeah, I'm not part of
location
the
of said
walking
printers.
around, so I don't know who
And I
has
was-
what.
Wasn't
Denise's unit would be a scanner so it would be a multifunction. It is a scanner and a printer, because she scans all the invoices that are paid every month.
Oh, right.
Everybody else.
Okay,
Yep.
so,
so there's, according to this, so there's one for the clerk, an MFP, which is the printer and scanner, and one for the township manager.
The one for the manager.
And the
yep.
8 printers are dispersed throughout. It doesn't identify the location. I'm gonna
So
talk to my rep
I'm
about
almost
that.
thinking, with the lower price we would pay up front, we might just be able to afford to just buy 3 more new printers. Robin
well,
says
that's
hers
what
on
I'm
its last
asking
leg.
him, how
Yeah.
much it would cost. Because, I mean, the treasurer uses her printer a lot.
Yeah.
And if it's giving
So
her
buy a new
problems
one.
now, we need to make it, we need to replace that. I hate to have her
Right.
not have a good printer.
Well, that's what I was
I mean,
saying.
she's got a
Take the
very important
savings up
job.
front. We just saw the kit parts, a lot of the parts run less than $200, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then in exchange, buy 3 new printers for,
But I need to know the cost, because we're not comparing apples to apples. The Toshiba is more expensive, but that's because they're getting all new printers, except for one, where his is a little less, but he's also not giving us 3 new printers. Do you see my point?
yep, I do see your point.
So I wanted to make a determination. I can't make
I believe Adam, when I met with him, he said the HPs were relatively new, so I don't know if you're printing on an HP?
I am.
Okay.
I am printing
So
on an
must not-
HP, and I
must be
believe
false
that
information.
the one for that we're almost out of ink on, and we can't get ink for right now, is the voter registration cards. And that one also is that's the most important one that I have in the clerk's department. And that one is probably not going to be replaced.
Under that, it would not.
Well, for what it's worth, there is a motion on the table.
I would support your motion.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion, and I have a support.
It was to accept the Toshiba quote. At their price. At their cost.
And I did support.
So I do have a motion, and I do have a support. Given this one, I would prefer a roll call.
That's fine.
Okay, so Walker,
I got to follow the recommendation of the people in the office that use the printer on the daily, and they seem to prefer the Toshiba package. So I'm going with the motion.
Reiber,
I've got to say no for the reasons I currently stated, and I'm happy if that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Absolutely.
Hunt,
Yes.
Deaton. I want to add that I can't support any decision right now because we're not comparing apples to apples. What I will support is a new printers with the maximum amount of the highest quote that we have, and then we can look at comparing apples to apples and make that determination. So as of now, the answer is no for Toshiba, but I would like to get a fair, equal estimate.
It's right here.
Susie,
I support it. Yes.
Havarder,
No.
Spire,
Yes.
so
Pass 4-3.
4-3.
Okay. So that motion carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate your time. Okay. On to Agenda item number 8, action item. Consideration of approval to authorize a per diem allowance for elected and appointed official participation in the Livingston County Citizen Planner Program offered March 6th through April 17th of 2025.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I prepared this memo. This is an educational opportunity coming right to our county, which usually they don't host this at off-site locations. I do think this is an excellent training program for citizen planner certification. Basically, it's the kind of the basics, the ins and outs of planning and zoning. I know this board has a special interest, or many of you have a special interest in planning and zoning. I know we're hearing that a lot from our citizens in the community, that they want us to be more engaged and thoughtful in our planning and zoning. So I do think this is a good opportunity. And the current per diem policy requires board approval for any multi-day event. So in accordance with that policy, I am seeking Township Board authorization for this. I will add that there is a group discount that is, instead of $250, I believe it's $225 if we register more than 4 people, so there's a small incentive. And then there may also be some grant opportunities that I'm going to look into to see if we qualify for through MMRMA. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Right now, we have 2 of us have signed up for it.
Correct.
I will be attending as well. I haven't
3.
signed up yet.
Okay.
And Bill, didn't you sign up?
Bill has.
Yeah,
And me.
I'm one of the
And
2,
me.
and Rick
And me.
is already
You
on.
have signed up?
Do you have 4?
Oh, we have 4, so we'll get a discount.
Group discount.
And I believe, Kelly, upon completion, we get a certificate
You do.
towards some qualification.
Yes, and then there's continuing education. If you want to keep up with you will get a master citizen planner designation, and then each year there's educational opportunities if you want to keep that certification going that you can take advantage of. I do think we've had commissioners and trustees attend in the past, and they've all said that it was an
Well worth it.
excellent program.
So just a question for what's in front of us for approval. Is it common practice that maybe a board member, maybe Janine wants to go take some training for clerk stuff? Does she have to submit a request and get an approval if she wants to get her per diem? Well, she's different than us then, I guess, but
The point is that you're making, it's a multi-day situation, so that's why we,
I know that's already in our per diem policy.
Yep.
Right, so, but, so this is just to authorize the payment of that per diem to the people that are attending?
correct.
And is that per diem for every day that you attend?
Yes,
Correct.
6 days in this situation, 3 days in March, 3 days in April.
Right.
Plus the cost of the course. It's a significant expense, but it's a knowledge base that we do not currently possess, that I do believe this would be excellent to acquire moving forward.
No, it's great Livingston County offers this.
Having it be local is excellent. It's right, it'll be right at the
Yeah.
Livingston County
Yep.
Services
I've
Building.
taken training there before. I guess my question on this is, what was the purpose of a half per diem?
That's a different story, different conversation.
Yeah. For now, this would just be approving
Your attendance.
basically multiple of us
You would
to
get-
attend
Yep.
this seminar.
It's to prove the
Or
attendance,
group
okay.
group of teachings.
Well, I'd move approval to authorize a per diem allowance for elected and appointed official participation in the Livingston County Citizen Planner Program.
I have a
support
motion.
that.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Seeing none, motion passes. Okay. Next up are items for discussion. And number 9 is a review of the second draft budget for the 25-26 fiscal year.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So included in your packet this evening is just another updated version of the 25-26 budget. As a reminder, the township's fiscal year starts April 1st. And so we are planning to have a public hearing on this budget, likely at our second meeting in February, on February 17th. I'd love to give the board lots of opportunities to take a look at this budget, to go through it and ask questions. We can also make myself and staff available for internal meetings if this is something you want to sit down and go over more on a line-by-line item. I'm happy to answer any questions you have tonight, but really just wanting to make sure that I'm getting this budget in front of you, that you're having ample opportunity to review it and provide comments before we move forward with public hearing, and then ultimately we will need to adopt it before that April 1st date.
So we'll be seeing it twice more or just once more?
You likely will be seeing it at least twice, once for the public hearing and then again for adoption.
Okay, that's what I thought. So again, this is just moving along, keeping the
So-
information in front of you, and, if you see anything you need suggestions on.
Yeah, I had some questions, and some of it was already answered earlier by Kelly, but I want to bring it up in front of the board so that they understand it as well. On page 162, the cable franchise fees, it went down from a 390 to 320, and the notation was that it was reduced because the PEG fee was moved to a new line item. The new line item for PEG fee was 11,200, bringing a total of 333 versus 390, and I asked the question of why that got lowered, why we're not collecting that, and the response I got was that people are streaming more now, they're not on the cable,
Right.
and they're getting rid of their services, so that's going to probably go down as people transition from cable to streaming services.
And we brought Surf Internet in too, so.
Hasn't quite come in yet, has it?
It's in a big part of the township.
Is
They've
it?
got one last corner that's left to complete.
And it won't be going to Oak Point.
It's not?
Yeah,
don't
I
think
did
so.
do a little bit of analysis after you asked that question earlier. The 23-24 fiscal year, so last year's fiscal year, the revenue from that the combined item was 370,000. The current fiscal year is on track to be 339,000. So we are seeing a trend in those fees going down as people are no longer using. This basically is revenue generated from either people on Comcast or WOW. WOW also has a cable franchise with us. Anyone who's not using those two service providers for cable, we will see a decrease in revenue associated with that. It's one of the reasons why many of you weren't here, but when we negotiated our cable franchise with WOW, we pushed really hard for them to include streaming in the franchise fee that they gave us, because what we're seeing is just that people are starting to use other ways to stream TV, and it's basically kind of cutting back on a revenue source that many communities have relied on. So there's a lot going on in the legislature right now, trying to figure out a way to kind of bridge that gap. But I do think that's why you're seeing that number go down in revenue, is just because as a result of that.
And then on the same page, election reimbursement, I had questioned why there was zero for it. In a conversation I had with the clerk, we said that there's a possibility that we might have an election this year with school boards and so forth, and there's no contingency in there, and I was told that if that happens, then we would just amend the budget to accommodate for it. So there's no need to put a number in it.
We are getting reimbursement for the election this past November for the early voting from the state. And you should expect that check. It's going to be $5,820.
Okay.
Will that be before April 1st?
Yeah, should be.
Okay.
Who's that from? The state?
Yeah, the county. I think that the state, I don't know if it's the state sends it out or the county, but I got or a notification from the county that we're going to get reimbursement for $5,820 for the November early voting.
And then
Good news.
I had another question that came up on page 165, which was just a clarification of what it was. There's wellness, $8,000 budgeted, and I asked our township manager what that was, and apparently we give incentives to employees for doing wellness things. And if they achieve those milestones and do those things, they get bonuses. And apparently this has been going on for about 10 years or so. So that's what wellness is. Am I saying that correctly?
That's absolutely correct, yeah.
Okay. Then page 174, Brighton Road cleanup, 50,000. That is on the land we got from the DNR, right?
That's correct.
And we need to clean up that site, even though we're going to sit on it for quite some time too.
It is very disappointing that the state didn't enforce the contract. The initial cutter was supposed to have everything to ground level. That didn't get enforced.
Yeah,
But
so we've got,
I
It's
don't think
dangerous
there's,
right now.
yeah, I don't think there's any luck in getting them to come back. So I think we need to be proactive and not
Right.
have
that
an
was a
issue.
request that I think you put in there, right? Yeah, for the cleanup on that, okay. Yeah. And those are the only questions I had on the budget at this point.
I'm actually going to just, in case anyone wants to join me, I'm going to sit down with Denise, and she's going to really kind of go over a lot of things line by line by line with me.
It's a lot.
With the history.
When is that?
So that I can see. So we haven't said it, she's in a busy period right now.
Yeah, okay.
So it won't be next week.
End of year, we're trying to get the W-2s out.
Yeah, so potentially the
Yeah, I would
week
like
after
to
next.
know what all of these
It's a lot.
acronyms and everything
Yeah.
stand for.
You know, absolutely, and
Yeah,
which account
If
goes
you
to
just
what, and why
let
this
us know,
doesn't go
Kevin,
where.
when you guys are gonna do that, I'd be interested in.
Okay,
being
and I will read,
educated.
I'll send out an email once she has some availability to everybody, and we'll coordinate our schedules to see who would like to come in, and
And we have to keep in mind the Open Meetings Act.
Yep, I was just gonna make that comment. We may end up doing two
True.
separate sessions, but we can
True.
definitely offer that to do more of a line item review. It's your first time looking at this budget and this amount of details, so I think that's a good idea for those that are interested in digging in that deep.
I had one question. There was a repaving of the soccer lot. It was $50,000, and then again, the next year, $50,000. Is that this little parking lot here up at the top of the hill? What is the soccer lot, and why does it have to be done 2 years back to back?
Good question. So the soccer lot is the upper lot, the lot that is behind the sled hill. That lot is in need of repaving. We intended to do it this year and it didn't get done. So you're seeing it in this current fiscal year's budget, which will be zeroed out because it wasn't done, and then that
It'll get
project will be
amended for this
moved.
year.
It's not 100,000, it's just carrying it over. They're gonna zero it out for the 24-25 budget and add it to the 25-26 budget.
And it'll be 100,000?
No, 50,000.
Just 150,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right,
prior
thank
to
you.
the closing of this year, there will be a group of amendments to correct the
Okay, gotcha,
previous
thank you.
budget.
Good question.
Any further discussion
What's the
regarding
path?
this second draft budget?
And the park maintenance.
So that is for maintenance of all of the park and path facilities. So not only does that include all of the maintenance of the Township Hall Park facility here, but we also maintain all of the pathways that we've built along Grand River Avenue, along Brighton Road, along Bauer Road, along Latson Road. So any township constructed bike path in the community, we are responsible for maintenance on that, and that is included in this Parks and Rec path and park maintenance budget.
So snow removal on those paths is a significant expense. But once you've built them, you need to maintain them. Gotta do it.
I didn't look through this, but is there a line item in here to cover the cost of trainings?
Trains?
Training people?
Yes.
Where's that at?
So each department line item has it's called professional
It's
services.
individual under the manager has one, the supervisor has one, the trustees have one.
Yeah, so under trustees, it's professional development conferences and dues. The current budget is 15,000. We did propose an increase in that for 25-26 for new official training. You can see here the supervisor has that same line item, so each department has a professional development conferences and dues line item, which is where we would put training, educational things.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
Okay, no action needed on this. It was just a discussion item. Number 10 will be an update regarding the My Genoa app. And I will just say real quick, I did write the memo for Trustee Walker just because we were in a time crunch and trying to get the packet out. And I did misspeak by making a recommendation that we, not pursue the app farther. There are other avenues that could be looked into, and Trustee Walker would like to investigate those farther. So this is just a discussion item. So we're not saying we're doing an app, we're not saying we're not doing an app, so I did misspeak when I typed that.
What is everybody's take on whether or not I should pursue having the representative that does the app for the city of Brighton and the city of Howell come in to answer any questions, or in looking at the fact that it is $5,400 a year for this app, do we just want to put this in our hip pocket and pursue further investigation if a greater need arises?
I think you just said it.
I kind of like that one.
Okay.
I think you did. I think that we have a lot of things that we're trying to do all at the same time.
Right.
And that's, and we're all gonna have a lot of enthusiasm about different things we want to see moving forward. And I think it just needs to be a hip pocket thing right now, because I think we have a lot of stuff. And looking at those apps, and this is brought up the last time, they tend to be just more directing people to our website and so forth. And if they got our website on their app, then they don't need that. We don't need an extra $5,000 expense to, until we can see, I think, a reason to do that. I think we ought to just table it for now.
So I would encourage everybody to download either the My Brighton app or the one for Howell, and just live with it for a little while and see if the things that they post, if you were a resident of either one of those places, would you find that of value? Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of road construction projects coming up where, and speaking with a friend on Brighton City Council, they told me that during the streetscape project, when they redid Main Street, they could send out like real-time lane closure or road closure information, or water interruption notifications, like real time with a little picture of a map, you're affected if you're here or whatever. And I've got both apps, and I remember during the streetscapes project, there were a couple times there were gas leaks that would cause road closures. Mm-hmm. So as we've got local road construction happening, not necessarily in under our purview, our constituents will be directly affected by those projects, and there might be a value in some way for that.
Yeah, I think
So
the
it's-
streetscape one was a little unique in what they were doing there, and I followed that one as well. I know the type of stuff you were getting with that.
Yeah.
And it did make some sense with that. It helped people navigate the downtown area when things were messed up. The only thing that I think we've had of any recent time to have navigation was when they shut off Door Road here, for the bridge thing. That gave some confusion to people. a little
And the
bit.
roundabout.
Well,
The
us
roundabout.
included. One of our deficits is that, unlike a city, we don't have any control over the roads, right?
Right.
Right.
So even the Door Road bridge closure, we literally were notified of that the same day that MDOT sent out the blast that they were doing it.
Right.
So
Which
we
was
don't
under a week.
necessarily always have a benefit of knowing in advance the way a city does, because we're not responsible for it sometimes.
I'm not a
Oftentimes.
technology person, but I do know that there's a way to have either Instagram or one of them do a push notification. Because I know Chief really gets updated information, and he does forward that to Todd and I, because we're on the BAFA board, which we could then give to Kathleen to have pushed on whichever one of those does that.
I'll
That would be
definitely
in her
download
purview.
the app and
Yeah,
and
see if you
watch
find
it,
a value
see what it
to it,
does.
or how we might be able to make something like that useful to us.
And the
Absolutely.
uniqueness of those two, they both have downtown centers. You know, we don't have that, you know.
They have fun events. We don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're working on
Item
it.
for discussion.
Okay.
So,
Do you want me to pursue bringing in their rep, or just keep this in our hip pocket for the future?
I prefer to wait.
Okay,
Me too.
okay.
Okay.
Then we shall wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
excellent. Okay.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, of
No,
course.
thank you very much for looking into that. Discussion item number 11 is a discussion regarding amendments to the township zoning ordinance as requested by trustee Susie.
Yeah, this is something that's just been in my craw from the ZBA, where we have designation of certain parcels of land in our township that are listed as 2 front yards. Corner lots are considered 2 front yards. There are, and 2 front yards would be, they have one road, and then right behind them, there's another road that butts up to their property, and they designate it as 2 front yards. Those folks, all across our township, don't have the same privilege and opportunity that the rest of us do with a backyard. They can't put up fences, they can't put in a pool, they can't do things because of that designation of 2 front yards. And I know that this is far-reaching rather than some of the things I've been seeing, which brought it to my attention, but I think it's worth looking at either to allow the zoning board to not be so stringent with the zoning regulation that you can't do these things because 2 front yards, or to change the zoning ordinance to allow that designation to be changed in some fashion. I know that's a big deal, but it's an issue. And ultimately, it's up to us whether we're going to change an ordinance.
Is there a problem with it?
Yeah, because, like I said, people can't do with their property what they think they can do. They can't put up a fence, they can't put in a pool because it's 2 front yards. And the examples, I mean, there are people on Hughes Road, for example, they all use Hughes Road as their driveway. The back side of that is it Wildwood? Is that the street?
There's several roads, so you have to.
I know, it's one of them right behind it. And none of those folks in that area, and this is just one example, none of them use that back to access their property at all. It is their backyard. And when they want to try to create a backyard, they can't. They can't put up a fence, they can't put in a pool, because you're not gonna let someone put a pool in their front yard. So it's 2 front yards. And the same thing happens with corner lots a lot of times. How a lot of these areas have gotten by it is that they do tremendous setbacks from that road to allow someone to put a fence in on a corner lot, but they've got 50 feet of, or not 50 feet, but they got a large area that is open, that they're not even utilizing. So I see it as a inherited problem, and I think that either, what I would like to see is explore the idea of changing the zoning ordinance to eliminate that 2 front yard designation in some fashion, or to give direction to the ZBA to be a little lenient on those 2 front yard properties where it makes sense to.
I would absolutely lean toward changing
Yes.
the zoning ordinance
Yes.
rather than direct the
Right.
ZBA to be lenient.
Yeah.
We've already got it open for some amendments we're looking at.
We are going to have some zoning ordinances coming up, so we can certainly
Take a look at it.
at least add this as to something to consider.
And if you want more detailed information of that and how it would affect, I'll be more than happy to write herd on that, and so we see what the big picture looks like. How many properties are we talking about that this is affecting, and so forth. I don't know what I'm biting off here. how
I
much
can tell you that probably the reasoning, for this,
From a realtor's perspective?
from a realtor's perspective, yes, is, having the two front yards and having, like, being able to put up a fence would definitely defer from the line of sight when able to go around, and that's why it's there for security purposes.
You're talking about a corner lot.
Yeah, you're talking about Wildwood and Hughes Road, that's a busy area. And for somebody to pull out on that street on Hughes Road, that's pretty dangerous.
That is all their front yards. That's not what I'm talking about. We're talking about the little, barely two-lane
the
road
side.
behind it.
Yeah.
That's.
Oh, the lake community is what you're talking about.
That becomes a real issue there. But those folks, and testimony that we had at the ZBA from a resident that was looking to put a fence, they did not know that they were designated as two front yards when they bought it. They thought they could do something with the property, and they find out, no, you're zoned for two front yards. So I agree with the corner lot and the site around the corners, and that's why a lot of these people that have fences, they're pushed back quite a bit and to allow that corner view. Okay, and I get that, I understand that, but it's the ones that are, it's got this narrow path and they got a street behind it, and unfortunately in that whole lake community there is a lot of people that have bypassed the ZBA and just put up fences on their own without approval, without permit, and they've been there for a number of years, and the zoning board is not going to tell them to take down their fences, because they've been there for 20 years, and there's a mishmash, so at least we can get a handle on it in some fashion. That'd be a good thing, so.
So with the new legacy development at Bauer and Chalice, they have lots with a double front yard. So they're running into that right now.
Right.
So I would agree with Robin, if there could be something, as long as they have a way to define, if it meets this criteria, it's a front yard. If it meets this criteria, it's a backyard. It sounds like if there's where your driveway is to access your home, that's a front yard.
That's right.
Right. Yeah, as long as it's clear or something like that, I would be willing to put my vote yes. We're not voting on it, but change the zoning.
I'm gonna lean on the planner over here.
Planner manager over here is biting her tongue a little bit. So, I mean, I think there's very good reason why you would designate a property that has two front yards, whether it be a corner lot or a through lot, as having two waterfront yards. And a lot of that has to do with the aesthetics as we drive around our community, right? If all of a sudden this lot that has a front on this street and a front on this street is allowed to have their backyard fronting on, say, Hughes Road, and they decide to store their RV in the backyard and build a pool, and they build a red fence, and the neighbor next door builds a chain link fence, very quickly what you see when you drive through our community changes. And so the ordinance is really written to protect property values and to protect views, which is why it's done to have two front yards. I do think in a case-by-case situation, that's exactly why we have a zoning board, is so that they can look at this particular case and determine whether or not it qualifies for a variance. Unfortunately, the rigidity of those requirements is set by state law, so there is not a lot of leniency or flexibility. It's got to be very specific in how they determine whether or not a variance is necessary. One of the things we look at when we do amend our zoning ordinance is whether or not the Zoning Board of Appeals is granting variances. So if they've decided, sort of on repeat, that every fence request or build a pool in a front, second front yard request that comes in, they're granting it, that gives us an opportunity to say, okay, hold on, we're kind of eroding at our ordinance now, right? We're starting to allow things that our ordinance says we shouldn't allow, and that's usually the trigger for us to say we need to take a look at our zoning ordinance, because these variances are getting granted, we might as well amend the ordinance to address it. I do think there is an opportunity for us to look at how other communities handled this issue. We're certainly not unique. We do a better job now, which is why you're hearing about it at Planning Commission, of identifying when a new lot is created, if it's a corner or a through lot, so that we can, in that case, it's a PUD, we can use discretion to actually define that is a rear. I think there are ways we can look at our ordinance to perhaps adjust it. For instance, in an example where it's heavily landscaped and you really wouldn't see it anyway, right? What's the harm in allowing someone to put something up? But I think it really needs to be scrutinized because there are some areas that I drive through that I can tell that they don't have that same standard that we have, and it looks bad. It's a different fence every 50 feet.
You want to put up the Costco one?
Yep, somebody's got a bunch of junk in the backyard, somebody else, so I think it's important that we look at it, but I think we have to have a very discerned review of it to make sure we're not creating something in our community we don't want to see.
And which contractor is it that's going to help with the ordinances?
Yep, so we're actually preparing, not this administration, but the former board authorized staff to look at seeking proposals to do ordinance amendments. We just completed, I have a draft on my desk today, a request for proposals, so we're actually going to go out and seek proposals for that amendment. That is going to be a pretty large ordinance amendment, so you will see back from us, probably going to be a little while, but a series of proposals from different vendors seeking amendments to the zoning ordinance.
So it's a good time to add this as a look.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
it's
Get their
not going to happen
feedback.
quickly, but I do think it's something we can target as part of those amendments to analyze.
Great,
Okay,
good.
is that good, Rick?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. And so lastly, discussion item number 12 is a discussion regarding the per diem policy.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chair. I put this together. This actually has been on my list of policies to take a look at for a number of years, and I thought with a new board, maybe now is a good time to dust this off and take a look at it. One of the things that's always kind of bothered me about this policy is that if someone attends maybe a short meeting, they go to an hour-long luncheon, the rate of the per diem is just that. It's a per-day payment. And it doesn't give much flexibility for how long you've actually spent at the event. So I just wanted to ask for some feedback from the board to see if this is something that you're interested in. I also think it should be clarified. I know we're talking about doing more community outreach events and kind of what qualifies for per diem, what doesn't. It definitely helps staff administer this policy when it's clear and everyone's expectations are the same. So I'm really just hoping for feedback and to see if it's something you want me to start digging into and maybe drafting some clarifications to it so that moving forward we all understand what's eligible for a per diem and what isn't. I should add that this really only applies to the trustees. The treasurer, the clerk, and the supervisor are salaries, so this policy would apply to if and when the 4 trustees wanted to attend an event. And I've put together in the memo a few possible discussion points, but I'm kind of open to whatever.
I would support Kelly, us looking into this further and clearly outlining.
Now, one of the things that was in place, and I got caught in the middle of it, was, Bill, you were talking about the half per diem. So the policy has been where if we have this meeting, and then we moved from this meeting to another meeting immediately right after in the same spot.
Was this the training and then you had to go right to a meeting?
Well, it was SIMCOG and well, not SIMCOG, but
I think it was the Frankenmuth training and
no,
then
no, no,
ZBA.
no, that's what happened to me, but typically it would be,
I see.
whether it be MHOG and the 2 that you guys are on, they come to go back to back, right?
Oh,
They
yeah,
do.
Right.
They
So those were
I think that's part of why we,
one meeting and then moved to another meeting in the same spot, but it's 2 separate meetings. It was determined before that that's a meeting and a half. That's a per diem and a half. So then where I got caught in is going up to Frankenmuth for the whole day and then coming back here for a ZBA meeting. Staff thought that was 2 meetings one day, 1.5. And Kelly and I had already talked about it beforehand and said, no, that's 2 separate deals. It's not, I wasn't in the same spot. I came back from Frankenmuth to here. Anyway.
Well, and that's where this needs
Right.
clarification put in there for sure, so
Right.
staff doesn't have to try to decipher
Right,
this.
right.
I do like the idea of putting something in here, though, that, it doesn't seem quite right to have somebody show up for a half an hour meeting and get paid the same rate as somebody else that goes to another meeting that lasts 4 hours.
Right.
So I would like to see something put in there
based on a time frame.
Yes.
So if it's less than 2 hours,
Right.
it's a half, something along that
Right.
line, yeah.
I think there should also be consideration to whether or not there is authorization for one to attend a meeting versus seeing a meeting in an email and going, I'm going to go to that.
Well, and
You know.
that is already in here, isn't it?
So it's not as clear as I would like it to
Okay.
be. We added the half per diem being paid. It's item number 3 under the half per diem section. That electronic training and educational webinars, classes, and events will be paid subject to pre-approval by any 2 members of the non-attending admin committee board members. I don't know, it starts off with the electronic stuff, and we actually added that during COVID. So I think that should be clarified a little bit further. I still think if this board is okay with it and keeping it that 2 admin committee board members, and so that that's Janine, Kevin, and Robin. So 2 of those 3 would have to approve attendance at, if you saw a class you wanted to take, you would send an email and they would then let you know whether or not they agreed that you could go.
For all of them, or just for the electronic ones?
I would like to clarify that would be for everything.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
And it really helps if you guys ask me and I'm informed because I'm signing most of the checks anyways, so.
Also,
But if
the,
Janine's not here, of course.
Yes.
You got the other 2.
the community outreach events, those are kind of a little passion thing of mine, but I don't necessarily, I value everybody's time, but I don't necessarily want to ring up a bill for the taxpayers for us to benefit from them coming to tell us what they want. I absolutely think that there needs to be some sort of compensation, but I think we need to arrive at what the fair compensation for that is and which things it applies to. I do agree that like ribbon cuttings and things like that might probably not be.
We've never paid for those before.
Okay, good.
Ribbon cuttings, that is.
Yeah, the other thing, and this one's been on my target for a little while, is if you have a representative and an alternate to a board, are we paying them both to go? I mean, in my view, the representative is the person that is expected to attend and be paid a per diem. The alternate is expected to go in the event the primary rep is not available, but there may be a situation where both the rep and the alternate are interested in attending something, and in that regard, I think there should be some clarification given to how or if we decide to pay per diems for
Well, I
that.
think that would fall under the 2 of the admin.
Yeah, getting permission
Permission.
to attend,
Okay.
I think would be appropriate in that instance.
Yeah, because if the person that's the chair assigned to being on the board chooses it's something that they don't want to go to, and it's not going to benefit the Township of Genoa, and the alternate decides to go, then it should not be paid. It should be for educational purposes only if the alternate still chooses to go. So.
Well,
that's
and
my
I could
personal
see a
opinion.
situation where, just to give how Parks and Rec as an example, perhaps, they're doing something that's kind of important, maybe they're adopting a budget, and the alternate is really interested in that topic and wants to attend so that they're informed and knowledgeable about it. I don't know that I think it should be a given that both of them should be able to attend, but I think there should be an opportunity for the alternate to say, hey, I'm really passionate about this, I want to know more about it. And then for the admin committee to be able to say, yes, we agree that it would be beneficial for you to attend in
Right.
addition to the rep.
So long as permission is part of the equation.
Yes.
Prior. That makes sense.
Prior to, yeah.
Prior to,
Yep.
yeah.
I think probably what's best is, if you guys want to just jot down some suggestions on your concepts of what you feel is fair for you. It is your time we're talking about here, so what you feel is fair for you and what you would like to see, and submit them to myself, Robin, or Janine, or Kelly, and, as the administrative oversight, we can kind of compile those, figure out which ones, you're all unanimous with, and then come back with maybe a polished up policy.
Yeah, I do intend to reach out to, I'm in a listserv of managers across the state, and I was going to reach out to them. I know, Janine, you and I talked about maybe also reaching out to the clerks, right? Just to see, a lot of times we're not the first ones to have.
Like, what's the norm?
Right, to have forged this path. So sometimes there's examples out there from our counterparts in other communities that already have a policy that may meet our needs or include something we hadn't previously thought of. So I do intend as part of this to dig into what's out there in other jurisdictions throughout the state, just so that we're being consistent.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Everybody happy on that? With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, we have member board comments,
Okay.
right?
I'm just so excited.
Do
Do we have any additional board comments? I thought I covered that with
No,
any other further discussion.
I have no comments. How's
So
that?
I
He has a couple
did,
things.
I did attend the SimCog University Transportation Alternative Program in Detroit. Trustee Walker did not want to do that one, so I went, right? You didn't care to go to that one?
I think there was some discussion, we didn't feel it was of value.
Right. And I felt like since we're both on that, in that role there,
Well, you're an alternate.
yeah, but we're both in there, that anything that we can get involved in at this point, since we don't know anything about SimCog or any of the other things of that nature, it's important for us to explore them. So I did go to that, and there was some things that came out of that that I thought was interesting. I know Terry Kropp was very heavily involved with that when he was on the board. He really dug into that one. And I know what some other people's comments were. I don't want to take other people's opinions until I've experienced it myself. So I did go to that one. And they did break out, one of the things Kelly had mentioned is she was not interested in talking about TAP funds, the Transportation Alternative Program, because it's a nightmare, and I guess we got involved with one of those, right?
We did have a TAP grant a number of years ago that was,
A nightmare.
A nightmare.
What's changed in their TAP fund is there's no matching requirement any longer for us to put up 20% or something. They do 100% financing. That's number one. Number two, they separated SimCog from MDOT. Before it was one application and they both got their hands in it. And when MDOT gets involved, it's the federal government, which creates a whole nother bag of worms. And when I saw the number of departments and agencies and things that you had to get approval for, it was like, are you kidding me? This is unreal. Like, who would do it? So the sweet spot for them is someone that has a project between, let's say, 700,000 and $1.2 million. That's their sweet spot. If you have that type of project, that's where you can go tap into that. And under SimCog, it's much more user-friendly now, and it's not much intrusive as it has been in the past. Not that we have a whole lot of things with that, but one of their programs was Safe Routes to School programs, which I thought was a pretty good one. Paths from bus stops and things that they have, Safe Route to School program, that I thought was worth looking at more. That was presented by the Michigan Fitness Foundation. But there are some things that might be coming out of that might be worthwhile looking at. Not all of their stuff was of use and beneficial, but I wanted to share that information with you. And I have more information here if anyone wants to look at it. The second thing I wanted to talk about is we all got this MTA Township Focus magazine. One of the things coming up in there that is worth talking about is their annual educational conference, which is March 31st to April 3rd in Grand Rapids. I think that that representation from the township would be beneficial to go to the MTA annual conference. I'd be willing to put time aside to attend that. I don't know how many others want to go, but I think it's worthwhile if you looked at it in the magazine.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring it up. So it is coming up.
Kelly usually has Kathleen start sending out information to everybody once it's time to, once it starts getting closer.
Well, March is not that far away. Right?
Yeah, they did, there was a pretty good breakdown
so.
of all the educational sessions within that article. There's a lot of content there.
Yeah, there is.
We historically have always sent a number of people to the MTA conference, and if there is interest in attending, I think it'll need to come back to this board in accordance with their current per diem policy for approval. But definitely,
This is basically a 3-day event. Yeah.
Yeah, please take a look at it and then let us know if it is something that you're interested in taking part of.
So I just wanted to bring that up as well.
Okay. Anyone else? And with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.